Welcome to the Nintendo Room. Hey Nintendo fans and collectors. I've been a collector for about 10 years. I would call this my man cave. However, my wife loves Nintendo gaming as well, so we do share this space together. I've been focusing on Nintendo exclusively because they keep me smiling while gaming, and I really do enjoy playing Nintendo games, whether it be with my wife, with my friends, or with my family. Now, obviously this took a lot of persistence, this is very organized, and I'm very passionate about Nintendo. If you're interested in getting into collecting anything, I do have a series called Collecting Tips 101. It will be up in the top right-hand corner of the video as a card. If you want to check that out, feel free to do so. Also, before I get really into this, make sure you ask any questions you might have. Just make sure there's a question mark in your question, and I will go through the comments and I will try and answer all of them throughout this video's history. I'll check every few months or so. Now, if you're wondering, do I have a specific focus with my collection? It really just is anything Nintendo. I did start, obviously, buying the games. So when I started getting into collecting Nintendo, I really wanted to, like a lot of people, buy back my childhood. I was one of those gamers that grew up on Sega Genesis and Nintendo, and then eventually, of course, I wanted to get all the games that I sold off from my childhood and re-buy them again. I'm not after collecting an entire set of games for a system. I just want to get the best or the good or the rare games that I might want to play for the rest of my life. Beyond games for Nintendo, this year I have heavily focused on getting the Amiibo figures and the World of Nintendo figures, so a lot of my collection this year has grown in terms of figurines. So here's my Amiibo kind of collection, and everything here has been really bought in the past year or two in terms of Amiibo figures, which is a lot. After all the Amiibo figures, I do have my system collection, so I do have a handheld collection here, and then I have my home console collection, starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System, of course, and then going throughout history in order kind of as you walk down this alleyway of all of the different boxed games and systems. I have lighting up in my room. Right now there are some LED lights. I do have a display cabinet right here that's holding my GameCube stuff and my Wii stuff. And then of course on the other side of that I have my Nintendo 64 display case that's also lit up. Looks very cool. Another main feature of my Nintendo room is this Mario wall with a lot of the Mario or main Mario games. And then of course beside that I do have my Zelda wall with all the Zelda games and posters and other little awesome items that are Nintendo related. I've also made my own tables throughout time, so I've made an N64 kind of coffee side table, a GameCube one to match that. Those are two actually separate things that are not connected. Then I've also made this NES coffee table, which was pretty popular for a while. This one does have some slight damage to it, but I do need to get going on maybe making a new one at some point. And then this last table that I made that's in the Nintendo room is my Pokeball coffee table that also comes with 4 stools or chairs. So this table I just painted myself, so those things are really cool to kind of add to your collection. And actually I was almost going to miss out on this Wii Remote table that I have right here as well, with some storage underneath it, which is really handy. There's also Nintendo Power magazines in my room, and of course I mentioned World of Nintendo figures that are kind of lining the entire top of this space, going all the way around the room, underneath or over top of my LED lighting, until I hit my Amiibo figures over there, and then I have that Amiibo shelf kind of going all the way along the top. Other nice, interesting things that I've made for the Nintendo collection are my signage, or the signs that I have in the room, whether it be for handheld or for all the different consoles. I tried to feature some different Nintendo characters throughout history, and I've actually updated a few of them from last video if you're interested. Alright, so let's actually get started with this entire room tour. I'm going to focus first, I think, on the games, because games is what Nintendo is all about, of course, first and foremost. So up here, we do have the Nintendo Entertainment System. These are my boxed games. I don't have an insane amount of boxed games for the NES quite yet. I was really focusing on other systems first. So I do have some games in the box right over there, and then the rest of them over here are, some of them are pulled out of the box, but those are my cartridge-only collection. So some of the shoutouts that I have to actually mention for the NES, of course, is Kirby's Adventure. That's actually a factory sealed copy. I also love DuckTales, which is over there a little bit. And then the Mega Man games are quite new, that I actually collected in the past year or so. So I only have Mega Man 2, 3, 4, and 6. I'm missing 1 and 5 thus far. But I absolutely love Nintendo, and I really want to go back and learn to play more of the NES games. So the NES Classic is great for that. Now, I must mention, you do see the Mario games right here and the Zelda games, but all the Mario and Zelda games, all the main series, as I mentioned, are already over on the Zelda wall and on the Mario wall, as is Super Smash Bros. So if you're just going to comment, hey, you're missing something like A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS, I do have them, just those main series games of Zelda, Mario, and Smash Bros. Are pulled aside. The next console, of course, for home consoles for Nintendo is the Super Nintendo, which I absolutely love. It's probably my personal favorite 2D console of all time. This is really where I started to get back into collecting, when I wanted to get all the great Super Nintendo games that I never really had growing up, or my friends had them and I remember playing them. So real shout-outs, they're standoffs. I really love ActRaiser, Chrono Trigger, the Donkey Kong trilogy is absolutely outstanding. Final Fantasy games are great as well. We have the Kirby series, Lufia, Mega Man X, they're all awesome. Then we go alphabetically, because all my games are alphabetical. Final Fight Guy is a very rare box, actually, to get. Secret of Mana is outstanding as well. Star Fox, Super Castlevania, the Mario games, all of them, of course, Super Punch-Out. The Star Wars games are actually really, really difficult to beat as well. And then we have other games like some shoot-em-ups or shmups. UN Squadron's really cool, Gradius 3. And then, of course, we have the big box Earthbound, big box Mario Paint, and Lethal Enforcers. I'm still missing Super Bomberman for one reason or another. That big box is really expensive. Also new to this year is the way that I'm displaying my Super Nintendo games. So the Super Nintendo games here on one shelf, I kind of am using a plastic divider to split this up and separate it. So I do have just 4 games displayed kind of on the side, but all of the games that were in the box, I actually pulled them out and I'm displaying them here. So for the Super Nintendo, I have Chrono Trigger over here on the side, Star Fox, and then on the other side I have Final Fantasy 3 and Mega Man X, just some of the best games ever, in my opinion, anyways. If you're wondering how many games I have actually for the NES first, I think the NES I only have like 35, 40 games. It's not an insane amount. For the Super Nintendo, I'm approaching 150, I think. Again, I'm not going for a complete set at any point. Nintendo 64, at one point I actually had exactly 64 Nintendo 64 games. I think I'm slightly over that right now, but I think I don't want to get every game for every console, so originally I was thinking, hey, it'd be really cool to get like 128 of each console's best games, because that just seems to be a good number for a lot of the systems, but for N64 there's only like 296 games released, so that doesn't quite work out. So the N64, I do have Paper Mario on the side. On the other side, probably the rarest game, obviously in existence in my collection, is Sculptor's Cut Clay Fighter. Looks really cool. Again, my games are all alphabetically organized, and the bad part about the N64 games is that you can't actually have end labels on them, so I don't know what they are just without them being in alphabetical order for the most part. But the boxes underneath them for the Nintendo 64 are really cool. I love how the boxes are 4 different colors, a different color on each side. So shoutouts or standouts for those, of course, are 007 GoldenEye, the Banjo games, anything made by Rareware, including Blast Corps, and we have Diddy Kong Racing, Donkey Kong 64, Harvest Moon 64, one of my own personal favorites of all time. Anything Mario on the N64 is usually amazing and fun to play as well. And then we have Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, of course, Star Fox 64, absolutely love that title, some Star Wars games, and we have Turok and Wave Race on the end. So N64 is probably my personal favorite system of all time. Next up, of course, is the Nintendo GameCube. I have Pikmin games on one side, and then going through GameCube, we do have Animal Crossing, there's Mario Dance Revolution, which is hilarious, one of my good friends loves that game. Then we have games like Kirby, Luigi's Mansion, any of the Marios, and there's 4 Mario parties on that system. I love Super Mario Strikers, by the way. That game's kind of out of alphabetical order, but I thought it should go with the Mario games. Prince of Persia and the Resident Evil games, I'm still missing some of the Resident Evil games. The Sonic games on GameCube are pretty good, that were ported over from the Dreamcast anyways, with Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And then we also have, of course, Time Splitters 2 is great, Super Monkey Ball is excellent, Beautiful Joe is great as well. And then on the end, we have the 2 Metroid Prime games for the Nintendo GameCube. Next up, we have the Nintendo Wii. So I do have above that some of the bigger boxed versions of games. So here we have things like Animal Crossing again, City Folk. We have, even the Blob games are kind of fun, but the Donkey Kong games, Donkey Kong Country Returns, I'm so happy that came out for it. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, Mad World, Mario Karts, of course, more Mario games that are great. The Metroid Prime trilogy is outstanding, actually, on the Nintendo Wii. Muramass is a great hidden classic. Okami, I'm really happy to see that come to this as well. And then we have Pikmin, Pikmin 2, that was ported over. The Rock Band games, I actually really enjoy playing Rock Band. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is kind of an interesting game. And then here we have the trilogy of games. We have Xenoblade Chronicles, the last story in Pandora's Tower that has to get a shout out. Following that, we do have my Wii U collection that I'm kind of running out of space for this. I do need to reorganize this a little bit. So here is just it also in alphabetical order. However, the standouts are at the top over here that I like playing a lot. So Splatoon, Mario Kart 8, Yoshi's Woolly World, Star Fox, Nintendo Land, I'm playing those most recently. Bayonetta's outstanding as well. I should just mention that title as well. Now, the Wii U is kind of interesting because it's on the way out and the Switch is coming in. I need to make more room for the Switch in this Nintendo room as well. But we'll see where Nintendo goes with the Switch and how many great games they can release for it. Because the Wii U, I had a lot of fun with it, but not a lot of people actually wanted to buy the Wii U or game on the Wii U for one reason or another. Nintendo was very unclear about their marketing strategy for that game as well, which confused a lot of gamers. Next up, I have my Pokemon collection kind of here. So we have the first generation of games and most of the second generation, but I'm, of course, missing some glaring omissions. I think I only have 17 of the Pokemon games so far out of like 25 or so. So I need to get more of those throughout time. The newest ones, of course, are Pokemon Sun and Moon. You see right here, I'm playing through that with my wife. I think my strongest Pokemon right now is still only at like level 17. My wife's already up to level 24, but we'll get into that even more. The handheld gaming collection for me is not that significant quite yet. I do need to get into it more and more. Of course, my wife grew up on Nintendo handheld, and I grew up on Nintendo home consoles mostly. So it's kind of interesting that we're both coming from two different avenues for Nintendo. So the Game Boy and Game Boy Color collection and Game Boy Advance, I really need to get after. And the DS, I have a little bit. 3DS, I've been focusing more because that's this generation. But in the future, I really want to focus more on, of course, handheld gaming. So some standouts here are, I think, anyways, I love F-Zero on the Game Boy Advance. Animal Crossing's there, Bravely Default, I need to get Bravely second. Fire Emblem Awakening is outstanding as well. Kid Icarus, Kirby Triple Deluxe, I need to get Kirby Planet Robobot. Then there's the Mario games, of course, but we'll get to more of those over in the side of the video, or over at the side of the room. So there's so many great games, I think, for Nintendo throughout history that I just love it because I will never really be done collecting. I feel like there'll always be more and more and more that I can go after if I want to, and because I've been focusing on home console stuff, I haven't really got into the handheld stuff that much quite yet, but we'll get to that. Alright, next up, just in case, last time I think I forgot about my Nintendo Power collection, and I personally am a huge fan of reading these Nintendo Power magazines. I never grew up with Nintendo Power, but a few of my friends did, so I got to look at their magazines from time to time. There's 285 issues. I'm still missing roughly 70 of them from a complete set. So these are just magazine display stands that I got from Target when they were closing, and I display most of the magazines on there. I am not exactly sure if 70 more would fit on this, but it looks pretty cool. The top left has some different magazines from my collection as well, but mostly these are all Nintendo Powers. I don't have the first issue yet, but I do have the last issue right over there, so I really had to mention this. I think Nintendo Powers will be more and more collectible throughout time. I think the prices are just going to continue to increase with Nintendo Power magazines, especially when they have the inserts and the really cool posters. Next up, let's get to my Amiibo collection, because this is pretty cool right here. I have a Super Smash Bros. Champion belt at the top that you got for pre-ordering, I think, the game at EB Games a little while ago. The Smash Bros. Games themselves I have over here in order of their appearance or release, which is awesome. I also have some of the Game & Watch little men, I guess, on the side there, which looks really cool from the Amiibo collection. Now, this poster, I want to mention and give a shout out to Sportsfan. Thank you so much for mentioning this poster or letting me know about it. It's from Nintendo Force magazine that kind of tried to continue on Nintendo Power after Nintendo Power was gone. So this poster is from that magazine. It looks absolutely fantastic. Love all the characters fighting for that Smash Ball. Alright, so let's next get to all of these Amiibo figures. There's so many. I think the majority of this, though, is, of course, Super Smash Bros. So on the black stand that I made myself here, you do see all of the Amiibo from Super Smash Bros. Released thus far. I think there's 56 of them. I don't know why we're still waiting on those 3 released DLC Amiibo that aren't even out yet, so that's really interesting, but I always dreamed of having all the Nintendo characters as figurines. So this looks really cool. I love this concept. That's really awesome. The second main set, of course, is the Mario series that you are seeing right here. There's quite a few of them. 7 new ones actually just came out recently. A few of them I've unboxed already, but I have not posted those videos to YouTube yet, so those will be coming up soon. Splatoon has 8 figures right here. There's a few that are actually reprints that are just different color variations. Then there's a Chibi Robo and a Shovel Knight. And below that, we do have the Yoshi, Yarn Yoshi amiibo. So we have the Mega Yarn Yoshi, which is an amiibo figure, but it isn't. It is, but it's just such a huge cuddly figure, which is really nice. And it's actually more like a plush. Then we have Animal Crossing, getting into those. I think there's 16 of those that I have here as well. Over here, we do have some of the Mario pixelated 8-bit figures that are amiibo figures, and then we have Zelda down there as well, and then we have the Kirby series too. So I think that's almost all of them. The only things that I'm forgetting to mention thus far, or so far, is of course the Gold Mega Man you do see right over there. So he's there, I just haven't unboxed him yet. And then there's a lot of different figurines for Skylanders. And those things look really awesome. I'm not going to pull out the side, but there's some dark figures and they're all behind there. So I do have all of those as well. So the Super Smash Bros. Series and Amiibo series, awesome. Love collecting for it. Have so many of those. Next up, we do have my handheld collection. So the handheld collection down here, I did make this little sign here, which looks pretty cool. And then below that, I have a lot of different stands and a lot of the system boxes down there, which is kind of hard to see. So the stands, if you're wondering about any of them, those are actually from Rose Colored Gaming. They're holding up all my systems. Throughout this video, you will see stands for consoles and different things, and they're all from Rose Colored Gaming. So that's a really cool place that you can actually go to get some different items to stand up all of your different things. So this right here are the 2DS consoles for the Pokemon series, and they're all on their own unique stands as well from Rose Colored Gaming. And then Generation 1 and Generation 2 of the Pokemon games on their own unique stands, which looks really interesting and really cool as well. Before I get too far out of this, I do have a Nintendo sign actually above the door. Then I have a Breath of the Wild poster. Thank you so much to my Tree Falls group, I want to call them. Thanks for giving me that poster. It looks incredible. And below that, I have the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time poster with Link fighting Ganondorf. So these posters are hyping my Zeldathon, which takes place in just a few days. We host a Zeldathon every single Christmas season, basically holiday season, and a Mariothon in the summer. So you can always tune into those. I also stream on Twitch and things like that. Next up, we have my Nintendo Entertainment System. That's a brand new poster topper or sign that I have with Rob on the side. Then we have the Family Computer System, obviously from Japan, the NES Classic Edition, some controllers and different accessories. And then we have the Nintendo Entertainment System, of course, from North America, with the 4-score and QuickShot and things like that. Below that, we have the Super Nintendo. Just giving you a pan shot of the Super Nintendo collection that I have. So the Super Nintendo, we have the Super Scope, we have the Super Famicom with some different Club Nintendo different figurines. Then we have the Super Nintendo released in North America with the Super Game Boy and the controller. And then we have the mini Super Nintendo, or the Super Nintendo 2, or whatever you want to call it, with some different figurines for Mario as well. Now I must mention, I still need the NES Mini System. That's one of the system variations that I'm actually missing. But transitioning into the Nintendo 64, there are so many color variations for the Nintendo 64. So here is all of them actually. I'll try and pan up a little bit more so you can see this. There are 16 different main colors released for the Nintendo 64. There's a few other slight variations that don't really count in my opinion. So Nintendo 64 has a lot to collect for, and that's the bulk of my collection. I have 20 boxed consoles here for the N64, which is exactly half of my home console boxed variations, but I have all of them for the N64, which is really, really cool. So the signs that I have on top are Mario, Donkey Kong, Star Fox, and Link from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I just chose the figures based on the games, really. So we have Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox 64, and Ocarina of Time is what I was focusing on there. Whereas for Super Nintendo, I had Samus because Super Metroid is awesome, and then I had Rob the Robot for NES because I thought that made the most logical sense. As we're talking about all those, I might as well mention that I have Olimar for GameCube, Kirby for the Wii, and then a Splatoon figure, of course, the Inkling Girl, or the Inkling Girl, yeah, for Wii U, basically, that's been updated as well. So for the N64, first of all, look at all these consoles. Let's go through these 16. From the top left, you have the pink and white, then you have the blue and white, then you have the Just Go 30th Anniversary. That one is incredibly rare. The Diehawks, which I never seem to pronounce correctly. 4 different Pikachu consoles. The normal black, charcoal black system, and then the fantastic series of 6s right here, which are awesome. Jungle Green, Fire Orange, Smoke Black, Great Purple, Ice Blue, and Watermelon Red, and then the gold system is below that as well. I do have the sealed controller collection for the Nintendo 64, which you kind of see here on the side. Those are incredibly expensive now. The really hard one to find is Watermelon Red. Some of those sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, which is absolutely insane. I didn't pay full price for anything you really see in my collection. I've been going after things for a really good deal, obviously, for many years. Below that, I do have some different accessories and systems that are just different variations of the consoles above actually that I have already. So there's another gold one from Japan. There's the Midnight Blue, which is really just the Great Purple. Another one that is black or smoke black, and then the charcoal black one from Japan is what I have as well. And there's Japanese accessories, I think, beside those. So beside all the systems, I just have some interesting little contraptions or Logitech controllers and a matching system there, Hori mini pads, which are pretty cool, some of the other sealed accessories for the Nintendo 64, the set of 5 of those. This really awesome question mark light, I just did a video on this one. It lights up, which is so cool. I thought I would put it beside my orange Pikachu Nintendo 64 system. Next up for the N64 are all of my controllers. There's a lot of them, so these are the ones from North America, basically, that you see here. Then there is the start of the Japanese controller. One of the hardest ones that I had to find was this black and gray mixed one. I did a trade to get that one. And then there's the Pikachu controllers kind of over here. And then the other ones in the plain white boxes are over here, as well as some other ones from Europe and Japan as well, which are kind of really interesting. This one from Europe, I think, sells for a lot of money right now. I'm not really sure why, but some of them are incredibly rare, including the Jusko and the Die Hawks that I have in the box. Those are really awesome. Moving on from that, we do have more from other regions of the world, like Australia. This set of 4 Fantastic Series controllers is the complete set. There was only 4 of them ever released, and those are really awesome and interesting, but they're insanely expensive to try and find and very difficult to track down. Then I have the boxed accessories kind of collection that I have so far for the Nintendo 64. So if you have any questions, Nintendo 64 is probably my personal favorite console of all time. I have all the color variations for that one, whereas for the NES, I'm missing the NES Mini so far. Moving over to the GameCube and Captain Olimar, of course, we do have my controller collection so far of Japanese box controllers. Then we have a Starlight Gold and Spice Orange GameCube with the Wavebird. That Wavebird, both of these Wavebirds are incredibly rare, and they're very expensive, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think this one's one of 1,000 actually, from Gundam. It looks really cool though. Then we have the Platinum Silver, the Jet Black, and the Indigo Blue. And then the Char's customized box Nintendo GameCube is quite rare, and the Pokemon XD Super Pack. So for the GameCube, I actually only have 7 box systems. I think there's 13 that I'm after in total. I'm still missing 6 of those. They're high on my priority list. They're just so expensive to collect for. Some accessories here are the Game Boy Advance players. I've got 3 of them right there. There's more later in the video, actually. And then down here we have some of the sealed controllers for North America, the 3 Club Nintendo controllers, as well as the Mario controller from Europe, and then some other nice little neat variations of accessories at the bottom with the Logitech controller, the dance pad, the Jungle Beat drums, and a modem adapter actually, which is quite rare to see down there as well. Next up is the Nintendo Wii with Kirby on top. We have some of the sealed accessories from North America there. Then we have the 5 different consoles for this. So we have white, black, blue, red, and the Wii Mini, basically. So those are all the Wii variations released worldwide with some different controller variations and options there with Wii wheels, classic controllers, and the Wii remotes as well. And a gold nunchuck, which is kind of cool to see. At the bottom, I have Link's crossbow training and Samurai. I think that's Samurai Warriors 3 treasure box that had one of the kind of rare controllers for the Nintendo Wii. So then we have the Wii U, of course. I've used the girl figure, the girl image actually. I thought I just needed more girl representation in the room for sure, so I thought I would use her. She looks pretty cool and she stands out. Before I had Rosalina on there, and some people were commenting I should probably switch that, which I have done since then. Then we have the 8 boxed Wii remotes right here, kind of hard to see, but the cool ones are there only 8? No, there's more than that. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 10 of them now that I have all of them right there. Then we have the black Wii. We also have the Zelda edition of Wind Waker that actually comes with a really neat gamepad that you'll see later in the video. I'm missing the white Wii U still. It's kind of hard to find. I'm still trying to find the original one that was released that was 8 gigabytes. I want to get that one actually in the box. Then we have 4 controllers that were released actually by PDP. They're not outstanding, but they're alright. And then below that we have Pro controllers, a Pikachu controller, and some other different accessories like the high capacity battery and the Super Smash Bros. Different controller for outputs, or for inputs I should say. Now we have my console display for GameCube and for the Nintendo Wii, and a little bit of Wii U at the bottom. This thing looks absolutely fantastic. I've updated the one that I had 2 years ago or so. So this has, I think, 8 Nintendo GameCubes in this that are all different, with a controller on top of each. Then we have some of the controllers here as well. So you do see some of the rarer controllers and some Game Boy Advance players. I love that clear controller as well for it, and the Smash Bros. Controllers look pretty cool. The Emerald Green controller is outstanding. I love that one for the Nintendo 64. Then we have my Wii Remote collection. There are 12 different ones in total that you see here, and the really, really awesome one I think is the Link one that you see right there. And then of course there's the six that we already saw that are different variations of basically focusing on different characters from Nintendo. Then we have the 4 Wii consoles that you see here, white, black, blue, and red with nunchucks displayed with them. And then I have that, I was actually talking about this already, the gamepad for the Nintendo Wii U that's Zelda themed, which looks really cool, and some of the different Pro controllers, and that massive ASCII, I still don't know how to pronounce that GameCube controller that works with Phantasy Star Online. While we're down here, I just have hidden away all of my different games, board games for Nintendo, which is really awesome. I also have a Hanafuda card set that you see right here. Just going to fix that little item. And an original card deck, actually, for Nintendo. And then some other nice games like Yahtzee and things like that. Alright, let's get into my Mario wall that you see here. So I just want to give you a good look at that Mario wall. So the Mario wall focuses on 3 main posters. We do have Mario's history, we have a Super Mario Bros. 3 poster, and then we have a Super Mario poster. We do have most of the main series games for Mario that you see here, of course. So I don't have all of them yet. Some of the glaring omissions are Partners in Time, of course, and some of the handhelds. But I do have all of the ones for home consoles, I'm quite certain here. And even Mario Maker I put up there just because. Paper Mario series, one of my personal favorites of all time. I have to give a shout out to the original Paper Mario game for the N64. One of my personal favorite games of all time. Also on the Mario wall are the World of Nintendo minifigures for Mario that you do see here. They've only released 4 of the different worlds for New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, which I really want them to release all of it at some point. So I do have the World of Nintendo kind of figurine collection that you see there, including the gold figures and Series 1, 1, 1, 2, and I think 1, 4 is actually Zelda, which we'll get to in a second. Good time to kind of take a break from all of the gaming-related stuff, just talk about my console display in terms of what I actually game with, and all of my TVs. So what you're seeing here are 4 HD TVs, actually. There are 2, like, 40-inch screens that I have here, and then there's 2 smaller ones that I use for my PC, but are also doubles to use as gaming. So if you need to play 4 people want to play on different games, we can all do that all at once. Below that, I do have my Nintendo Entertainment System, my Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64 and GameCube, the Wii and the Wii U are all set up ready to go. So if you're wondering how I do this, I actually do this with some splitters right here, and I have some display or some different switch boxes that you can use. So each of those has a different system on it for the original AV cables, but of course the Wii U is plugged into one of the HD TVs. So that's really cool, and that makes life really, really simple. Getting into the next part of my room is the Nintendo 64 display case that I have here that I am very proud of as well. So this thing looks absolutely awesome. This is the 16 Nintendo 64 consoles released worldwide. You do have the Fantastic series, you have some from Japan on the second shelf, and then the Pikachu 4 systems that look really cool. Below that, I do have all the controllers, and some of these controllers are insanely rare. I just have to mention the 3 from Nintendo Power, the Millennium 2000 controller, my personal favorite item probably in my entire collection, the DK64 controller, and the Nintendo Power 100 controller. That N controller from E3 is likely a fake. I almost know for sure that it's a fake, actually. My entire experience with that controller is tainted. I don't think it's an official release. It was just released as a winner of a contest at Star Fox 1997 or something like that, E3. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit of knowledge in Nintendo's history, but it was never officially released to consumers that you could get actually in mass. Alright, transitioning from Mario to Zelda, I just want to mention the couch that I have here with my NES coffee table. And the couch is quite large. It's a sectional couch because this room is in the basement, actually. I did have to bring this couch down, and because this goes in pieces, it made it really wonderfully easy to get down the stairs and kind of around a U-turn. So on the couch, I do have some of the different blankets I have. I have a Mario blanket, of course. That's really comfy. I have a few other Mario blankets that my mother-in-law and mom actually made for me. And then I do have a Pikachu, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander blanket as well. And then below that, I do have Nintendo pillows. So these things I actually bought for like $1 each, and then the pillow themselves I had to buy for like $6, but the pillowcases were like $1 each. So some awesome Mario different pillows. There's roughly 4 of those. And then a really cool Super Smash Bros. Poster, which looks awesome for Brawl. And then I get into my Legend of Zelda pillows, which I have the most of. It's just the way it worked out when I found them. All of them I bought for $1 or $2, and now a lot of those sell for much, much more money than that. So moving from Mario to Zelda is a good time to talk about my Zelda wall. So this is my entire wall of Zelda items in terms of main consoles and games and things like that. So let's start all the way over here, obviously, with the games. You do have The Legend of Zelda 1 and 2 for the NES, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Oracle of Seasons. Oracle of Ages is like one of the only boxes for Zelda that I'm missing right now, but I do have the game. Wind Waker, Four Swords Adventures, Minish Cap, Twilight Princess, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, and then a placeholder for Breath of the Wild when that one does come out. The other games I have here are A Link to the Past in terms of Game Boy Advance, and a lot of the other variations like Hyrule Warriors, and a lot of the remakes actually made it for 3D as well. Then I have a Triforce clock over here that's still ticking and still working, a Hyrule shield and the Master Sword, and then I have a Zelda clock down there as well. I have the Majora's Mask guide from Prima Games, and then down here I actually keep all of the rest of my guides, so that's really interesting to read actually. They're great. When we go through the Zeldathon, I like playing those as well. Then we have a Zelda manga set, or manga set, as well, that my best man for my wedding gave me. Not as a wedding gift, just that I actually have. And then the coasters I use in the room, these medallions are from Ocarina of Time, and then I have some other coasters from Wind Waker, the pearls basically, that I really like. So those we use for our coasters in our game that are Zelda themed. Other Zelda items, of course, we have the Microland set of Zelda items. So these look really cool as well. They're really small, so they're not great for children, but it's really a pretty cool, interesting collection. My 3 Zelda handheld systems I have here, with a Triforce on it, of course, and Majora's Mask. So those look really cool. I actually use the new Nintendo 3DS when I'm playing Pokemon. Then I have the Hyrule Historia as well, and then a chest that all the Prima guides came in, a custom-made Link Triforce controller for me, and then some of the different collector's editions of the games are right there. And then I did say I had Oracle of Ages, and it's right there in blue that you can see as well. The Zelda posters I have up, I have one from Wind Waker. It's one of my own personal favorite games. I know the lighting's a little bit weird, so maybe I'll turn off some of the lights just for now so that you can see that one a little bit better. And then I do have The Legend of Zelda Throughout the Years, Link's History. And lastly, I have one for A Link Between Worlds, which looks really outstanding as well, as I just turn off the lights. So if you're wondering how I'm doing the lights throughout this video, I'm holding a remote, and I do have to just point it towards different sensors I have throughout the room to kind of turn the lights on. One's by the Super Smash Bros. One, and one's all the way in that corner. And they kind of both turn each other off sometimes for the lighting, if you're wondering about that. So that's kind of all of my Zelda items, I believe. The last part that we're getting towards for the room is my figurine and plushie collection. So this is kind of my Pokemon corner, I want to say. I have a Zelda wall, I also have a Mario wall, but I do have a Nintendo Pokemon kind of nook or corner right here. So we have a Pokemon The First Movie poster, which looks pretty awesome. Then I have this Pokemon 152 figurine set. This is one of my personal favorite items in my entire collection. So this thing is really hard to find. It does come with a frame. It's really hard to even search online. You have to search like Pokemon Collector's Case, and it's worth a lot of money. I only paid like, I can't remember how much it was, $120 for it or something, but it's well worth it. Some of the figurines are a little bit discolored, like Squirtle at the top, but overall, it's the entire first generation, which is my favorite generation of Pokemon throughout time. Same with my wife as well. I don't know why Jesse and James are kind of out of spots here, so I'm just going to move those two back into position because they were slightly out of position for that. So that's kind of cool. On top, I do have the Pokemon figures right there. I have Vaporeon, a plushie that I just gave my wife for Christmas. That's her favorite Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon is Blastoise. Actually, she would say hers is Blastoise too, with Vaporeon probably being close. But I love that Blastoise figure. Thanks Tree Falls Group as well. A Pikachu figure right there, and some Pokeballs for my best man. Beside that, I have a Pikachu, Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur different frame set that I made myself. And then here are all of my World of Nintendo plushies. I don't have all of them even close quite yet. I wasn't sure where to put them, but they fit really well in here. There's a lot of different figurines throughout time for World of Nintendo. Plushies I was never really interested in. I feel like they get dirty really easily, so I'm just getting into them right now, and I absolutely love collecting these things, actually. I think eventually this entire case will be filled with World of Nintendo plushies. For now, it's just right there. Then we have different figurines that I have for Zelda and Mario Kart and things like that. And then other ones for Zelda. Some of those are actually pretty rare. Some pixel art that some fans made for me, which is really awesome. If you made those, thank you so much. Below that, we have Donkey Kong figurines, some of my own personal favorites. I love King K. Rool up there as well. And actually, we have some for Diddy Kong Racing with Banjo, which looks really cool. And then we have Mega Man figurines over there with Kirby and some Pikmin figures as well. And then Earthbound clay figures. These things are really expensive and quite large. They're fantastic. I really like how we do have, of course, some of these for the Super Smash Bros. Line now, but most of these are clay and they're big and they're really awesome. Then Fire Emblems back there with a Samus and a Pit from, obviously, what are we going to talk? Pit Icarus, which is then followed by this massive Link figure from World of Nintendo that is actually an exclusive. That one was harder to find, but you can find the other ones in different packaging at stores. And the last World of Nintendo figure is Mario right over here that you see is Fire Mario, so he looks really awesome too. Lastly, we do have in here is like my fridge area. So I have this monstrous Nintendo fridge that I won for free from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, which is really cool. So you have a Mario, kind of Super Mario on that. You can put a keg in it, but I can't drink beer. My stomach, I just can't digest it. So eventually we might fill that with a keg for a party for all my friends. Then we have my Mario Kart different glasses. We have Zelda glasses and Pokemon glasses I got recently, and some other nice little items. This is my Mario beer pong table and flip cup table. I haven't used that in a very long time. It's kind of hard to see. That one took me over 100 hours to make. I think there's a video still on YouTube about it, but it goes through the 8 worlds. It's really awesome, and I'm really, really proud of making this. But yeah, it took me over 100 hours to cut out absolutely everything on it. And when you play flip cup, you kind of claim a world. So it's 4-on-4 with the 4 worlds. If you were ever playing beer pong or something like that, you can obviously use the castle with the Koopa Kids on top, and then the Koopa Kids on the bottom as well with Bowser and Peach. Down here I have some plushies. So I have a Blue Yoshi, a Mario, and a Sonic plushie that I just got throughout the years. The Sonic one was from a dollar store for like $1, and these two my best man for my wedding gave me as well. So I just want to thank him for those. Other items that I might not have talked about, you can definitely ask questions about below this video. I think I went through all of the posters. The only posters maybe I didn't mention are on these 2 Mario ones. I have a Mario and Luigi one here. When you are just at the right angle, they line up perfectly and look pretty cool beside each other. So I had some space on my wall and decided to put those up. Alright, now let's go around the entire room looking at my World of Nintendo figurines. There are so many of them. So from Series 1-1 and 1-2, there are these very large, like 6-inch figures that you have of Bowser, Donkey Kong, Metroid, and Ganondorf. I'm hoping they come out with more of those. Apparently they're supposed to. Then we have the 2.5-inch figure collection, kind of going from Series 1-1 to 1-2, which is mostly repeats, to 1-3, 1-4, and eventually, of course, to 1-5 and 1-6. Those I almost have every single one of them. I think I do have every single one of them. Some of them are repeats, so I didn't display all of those. Now we're getting into the more recent waves. I'm actually missing Donkey Kong 8-bit Donkey Kong. So that's the only one I think I'm missing so far from the 2.5-inch figures. Other than the prototype series and the trophy series, you can see Mario right up there as the trophy series, but I'm missing the other ones that have been released as well. And then there's some of the newer ones that are coming out. So World of Nintendo, it's really hard to see that. So let me actually just turn off the light, and let's see if we can get a better shot at that. There we go. So the World of Nintendo figures are really fun to collect for. Most of these are like $5 each for the 2.5-inch figures, which is a really good deal. So those ones look really awesome, but I am missing some of those. Then you have the 4-inch line, so you have Mario with Wave 1-1, and there's 5 of them, I think, in Wave 1, and then they go out throughout time, getting even more interesting. Originally, they were released as mystery items, actually, and now they have not mystery items, they tell you exactly what the items are. So let me just move more over there to give you a better shot at the rest of the World of Nintendo figurines. So let's go up here. So after Wave 1, we do have Wave 1-2. They're all mostly in order, just going throughout them. I originally had these by different series, but I thought it would be better just to have them in terms of the actual release of each wave, because then I can see what I have and what I don't have. There's this exclusive figure that was released that's metallic sandwich, which is kind of interesting. Then Wave 2-1, you'll notice I am completely missing Wave 2-1. I can't find it in stores at all. I never was able to find it with Falco. I really want to get Falco at some point. There's Dark Link up there, which is also called Shadow Link, which is really cool. I love Cat Mario. And most recently, within the past week or two, I actually found the newest wave, which is 2-3, with a Star Power Mario, Link in Goron tunic, which means the other tunics are coming at some point, and then Villager, which is really cool, and Peppy. Next, let's get to all of the in-box amiibo figures. So we do have some of the larger boxes of 3 here with the Famicom Rob colors, and then all of the other ones kind of going in order of waves and order that they were released. There are so many amiibo figures throughout this entire wall, which looks really awesome and interesting when I have it up like this. Now, you might be thinking, I'm running out of room, and I absolutely am in this Nintendo room. This house is not my wife's and our dream house. We do eventually want to move, which means I will have to make another Nintendo room at some point in my collecting career, obviously in the next few years, which could be really cool and interesting, but there's so much work that goes into actually building a Nintendo room. Building this room, I do have a series out that's called Building the Nintendo Room, which is wonderful actually to kind of go back and watch when this room was empty. I had to put up all the shelves, put in all of the work, of course, of getting this looking as best as possible. So if you have any questions, feel free to actually comment below. Make sure there's a question mark in it, and I'll do a search and find all the question marks and try and answer your questions. I really love Nintendo, obviously, but really the focus here is whatever makes you smile throughout life, I would absolutely recommend you do. Now, I don't have that much time in my life for video games anymore, but I do have time, and I make the time to share this experience with friends. So I know having like 20 different N64s in the box is not that critical, and it's not that important, and some people might think that's really odd or weird, and it is, but I love collecting all the different variations of colors, and it really just keeps me smiling, especially while I'm gaming, so why not? Whatever you are passionate about, whatever you enjoy, really share this experience. You might also be wondering, what did this entire collection cost me? Because of course there's thousands upon thousands of items actually in this Nintendo room. Because I was so persistent, so patient, and I stayed organized and kept my receipts and really budgeted very well, the collection probably cost me maybe a fifth of what it actually is worth, quote unquote, on YouTube. But to me, this collection is absolutely priceless. I would never sell this entire thing. I want to keep it for the rest of my life, and I want to keep Nintendo gaming as long as I can, as long as I enjoy the experience and keep smiling while gaming. Thank you so much for watching my room tour. Please check me out on Twitch. I'll be doing Mario-thons and Zelda-thons. My Zelda-thon's coming up very, very soon. I'm hoping to release videos every few days. Hopefully in 2017 the quality will be increased, and I'll be doing more discussions and Nintendo news and things like that. Feel free to fill that like bucket. Follow me on all the social media links in the description below the video. And remember, as always, go collect them all, keep smiling while gaming, and thanks so much for watching my room tour.